Now, a bit of a different video to usual, this one. It's not really related to recording music at home. It's, well, very loosely related, I guess, but I found it kind of interesting and I thought I'd share it anyway. It all came from the other day when I was watching TV, watching a movie on my TV, and I thought this would be so much better if I could watch it in the cinema with surround sound, with better sound than I've got from my Samsung TV. But I can't watch it in the cinema because the film's about 25 years old, and I'm not going to order surround sound because I want to watch it now, and Amazon aren't doing instant drone deliveries yet. So what can I do? What have I got around the house that I can use to create sort of surround sound? And I've got a few speakers, but nothing that great. And then I thought, I've got my studio monitor speakers, my Yamaha HS7s that I've got in the studio upstairs. Can I use those? I could have one on the left, one on the right, kind of create a surround sound effect. They're not really designed for the kind of bassy sounds of a cinema, but they'll do a job, and I could we can give it a go and see what happens. So started my thinking, rummaging around through various cables to see what would work and how to connect them, and I managed to do it. So stick around to this video to find out how you can do it. I'll give you a few different options that worked, and you can do the same at home and connect your studio monitors to your TV and watch a movie with much better sound. If you like this video, then please don't forget to subscribe below and leave a comment of other videos you'd like to see, and also give it a like. Here are my studio monitor speakers. These are my Yamaha HS7s, probably my favourite piece of equipment I've got in the entire studio. So powered monitor speakers. So if we take a look at the back of these, not that way, you can see we'll have a couple of different inputs here that we can use to get the sound from the TV into these speakers. So we've got a standard kind of XLR type input there, and then there's a 1/4" jack input there, which I use for my usual speaker cable there, to input to my speakers from my computer or from my audio interface. These are two separate mono speakers which are both powered. They both have AC in power there, so they both require power. I need to figure out how I can get the sound from the TV into these inputs separately from the stereo output from the TV into these two separate mono speakers to create that surround sound that we're looking for. So here we've got the first cable I found after rummaging around in through all sorts of cables. This is an RCA type cable, so it's got, you can see there, there's a red and actually this is marked black, but usually it will be marked white. So two connections on that end, and then they go down and split off into these two different 1/4" jacks. So what we're looking for, this is what we're looking for to connect to the back of our speakers. So we've got one there for the left speaker, and then red there, that red for right. So that will go into my right speaker. So as long as I've got outputs, RCA outputs on the TV, then this might work. The next one I found is this standard headphone jack, a 1/8" headphone jack stereo output. So if there's a headphone output on the TV, that could work. I could plug that into the TV and get the stereo sound out, and then that splits off into two separate, again, 1/4" jack cable jacks, what we were looking for. There's one red and one white for the left and right, so hopefully that will also work. The third and final option I found in my drawer full of wires was this. It's a digital to analog audio converter, and the reason why this is interesting is that I know we need an analog output for the speakers to go into the speaker inputs because they're analog inputs, but there's, on most modern TVs, they have digital outputs. This is basically to allow for a higher quality transfer of data. You can transfer more amounts of data via digital than analog. This is the connection type, which is a bit weird, something you're probably not familiar with. It's an optical type connection, digital optical output connection. So if there's one of those in the back of the TV that I can plug into, they can plug from that into this box. It's got a USB connection as well, which is to power it. It needs power, but hopefully there's a USB connection on the TV you can use. And then here are the outputs. You've got two types. There's the headphone output and the RCA once again. So we can use, once we go into this, we can use the same techniques that I explained earlier with those cables earlier to go out of this and into the, and take that analog signal into the speakers. So yeah, intrigued to try this one because we might get a even higher quality sound out of the TV with it. So I'm now downstairs where the TV is. I've brought my monitor speakers down along with the monitor speaker stands that I use in the studio. I've actually lowered them as low as they'll go. Unfortunately, this is as low as they'll go. Ideally, you'd want them a little bit lower potentially because you'll be sat on the sofa. So you want these speakers at ear level, really. Usually they're behind the desk, so that's why they're higher up. I'm sat on a chair, which is higher up at a desk, but you know, it should do the job, and it looks pretty cool. So yeah, let's see if we can connect them. So you join me now around the back of the TV. This is what we've got for this particular model, this Samsung TV. So you can see there are some RCA type connections there for which marked audio, the red and white. But unfortunately, if you can see that, it actually says that they're only AV in. So these are actually audio inputs to the TV rather than outputs. So if we were to connect those RCA cables that I showed you earlier, this actually wouldn't work for that. However, what we do have, you can see there, if it's very faint, but if I wipe away this dust, is a headphone symbol. So we do have what appears to be a headphone output. And then just above that, you can also see it says digital audio out optical. So we actually have a digital audio out as well. So yeah, I'm optimistic now. So I'm going to rule out this RCA to 1/4 inch jack connection for now, because as you remember, we didn't have a RCA output, we only had input. So yeah, going to leave this one for now. But what we did have was a headphone output. So this stereo 18th standard headphone output, we can plug that in, and then that will take that stereo signal out and down the wire, and then that'll go to these two mono outputs that we can plug into our two speakers. So that one's red, so red for the right hand speaker, that's right hand as you're looking at them, as you're looking at the TV. And then this is the white, which will go into the left-hand speaker as we're looking at it. Right, well, I came across a bit of an issue when I tried to connect those the first time, and that is that with this particular cable that I already owned, which I use for various other things in the studio, the Y, where it splits off at this point here, is actually quite small, so it won't stretch from between the two speakers around the back of the TV, which is a bit of an issue. So yeah, when you order one, make sure you get one that is adjustable, and I'll leave a link in the description to this video for one that does have that, for one that will be suitable and that will stretch far enough. But for now, we'll just test the connections individually. So you can see here I've connected this is the white end because it's the left-hand speaker, left hand as you're looking at it. Put that into the input there in the back of the speaker and turn it on. So just testing the right speaker first, and it seems to be working. So yeah, this solution, this Y cable to from the headphones to the two mono 1/4 inch jacks, it works on the right hand speaker. Let's just give the left hand speaker a quick test to see if that works also. And once again, so the left hand speaker is now plugged in with this Y cable into the TV. I've turned it on, made sure the volume wasn't up too high before I turned it on, and it worked straight away. I didn't need to change any settings or anything. It just came up when I changed the volume with headphone on the thing. So yeah, it seems to work fine. So if you want to be certain that it's actually working in stereo and not just playing the same sound out of both speakers, then you can just get on YouTube and search for stereo test, and there's plenty of videos on there which will help you test the stereo. So I've just found one here. So I've got the right hand speaker plugged in. Remember, it's I've got the left-hand speaker plugged in. So remember, when you're plugging in the cables, you want the white cable in the left and the red cable in the right. So it's as you're looking at the TV, so it can be a bit confusing when you're stood behind the TV and you think left and right. So it's as you're looking at the TV. So when I play this, only the left, when the left plays, only sound should come out of the left, and then we should hear silence when it highlights the right. So you can see that sound's coming out when it says left, but when it switches over to right, we shouldn't hear anything. So there you go, it must be playing in stereo. I've tested the other one as well, just the right hand on its own, it works fine. So yeah, we've got stereo sound coming out of our monitor speakers from our TV. So we know we've got one option that works, but could we potentially get an even better quality sound using this digital to analog audio converter that I showed you earlier? So we know now we've got the digital optical out, this kind of connection in the back of the TV. So I'm going to take this and try plugging it in there and see if we get a higher quality sound out. You'll notice it's got a little bit of plastic on the end, which you need to make sure you remove before plugging it in. That's just to protect this quite delicate piece of equipment. So yeah, we'll plug that in, and then the signal should come out of that in a digital output format, so higher quality, and then it will go into this box, and the box will convert it back from a digital signal into an analog signal, and we can take that out of the box and into the two speakers. So back around the back of the TV here, and you can see I've managed to plug that in after taking off that bit of plastic, plug that into there, and then that comes down this wire and connects into here, the digital analog converter box. And as I mentioned earlier, this actually needs power. So it comes in the box, it came with this USB cable, which you can either use a USB plug to plug it into the mains, or luckily most TVs actually have a USB port or two in them. So I'm going to just plug this into one of these USB ports here. And there you go, power's on. So now what outputs have we got that we can use to take into our speakers? So we have two options. We have either the headphone jack, again, as we did with the TV, and we also have the marked R and L here in red and white. That is the RCA type connection. So we can actually use that cable that we couldn't use directly from the TV, the RCA out to these speakers. So that's what I'm going to try and use for this example to show you that it can be done, and that cable type will work and will produce some sound. So I plugged them in, corresponding colors in there, the red going to the red. Weirdly, this one is black, not white. So, but as long as you've got the red plugged into the red, then plug the other color. It will usually be white, but this one's black, into the right one there. At the other end, you can see this is much different to this one will actually work because I can split this Y as far apart as I need. So I've got the 2 1/4-inch jacks there, which will go into the speakers, and it's much wider apart. So I've got the red end marked red here, which is for the right hand speaker. So that's, remember, right as you're looking at it. So not that one, it's over this one. So I'll plug that one in there. I always make sure the speakers are turned off when I do this so you don't get any annoying feedback. Then get the one for the left hand speaker. So this one's marked black, corresponding to the black at the RCA end. Just plug that one in there. This is very hard to do with one hand while holding a camera. All right. So they're both plugged in now. Let's go around and test if this works in stereo using that YouTube video again. Now, moment of truth. Will it work just by pressing play? Yes! And that does sound better. That sound quality, it might just be my placebo, but I think that sounds much better, and both are working right and left independent of one another. So yeah, if I was going to recommend one from testing this, if you've got an optical out and then use a digital to analog converter, it costs about $10 or something, £10 if you're in the UK. And then simple RCA or headphone out Y splitter, again, just costs a few pounds. So you can do this for just a few, probably under $20, £20, and not impressed. And there you go, you can use your stereo speakers to connect to your TV.